You know, I still dream about the garage. Not the success, not the headlines. The quiet, the cold, the sound of my own heart thumping in my ears, wondering if I'd made the single biggest mistake of my life. I was sitting on a cheap, second-hand chair, a desk I'd built myself from an old wooden door. And this was the global headquarters of a company that didn't exist yet. A company that was just a flicker, a stubborn little idea that wouldn't leave me alone. People see the towers of glass and steel now. They see the empire. They don't see the doubt, the knot in your stomach that tightens every morning, the voice that whispers, "Turn back." But I couldn't. It's funny where that kind of stubbornness comes from. For me, it started early. I was a curious kid. My grandparents had a ranch in Texas, summers there. I'd take things apart. Old cars, broken appliances. I needed to see the gears, the wiring, the why of how things worked. My grandfather, he'd watch me, not with frustration, but with a kind of quiet understanding. He once said, "Jeff, it's harder to be kind than clever." I didn't get it then. Not really. I was too busy trying to be clever. I followed that curiosity. Physics, engineering, Wall Street. A path that looked safe, respectable. It was a good life, by most measures. But that flicker, it was still there. It became a fire I couldn't ignore. I remember the day I told my boss I was quitting. To sell books on the internet. A place most people hadn't even heard of. The look on his face, it wasn't anger. It was pity. He thought I'd lost my mind. And for a moment, standing there, I thought maybe he was right. I drove away from that life, straight into the garage. And the struggle was profound. It wasn't glamorous. It wasn't a story. It was packing boxes on my knees. It was driving packages to the post office myself in my old Chevy Blazer. It was the relentless, exhausting work of building something from nothing. I remember those nights, most vividly. The silence after a day of chaos, just me and the hum of the single-server computer we couldn't afford to let crash. I'd look at the piles of books, the invoices, the sheer mountain of everything that still needed to be done, and I'd feel so small. The world wasn't kind. The press, the analysts, they wrote us off. They called it Amazon.toast. They said it was a joke, a fad, a spectacular failure in the making. And when you hear that enough, a part of you starts to believe it. You start to wonder if everyone else can see something you're too blind or too proud to see. But here's the thing I learned in that garage, a lesson forged in the cold and the quiet. It's not about the noise. It's not about being understood in the moment. It's about the idea, that tiny, stubborn, flickering idea. You have to protect it. You have to feed it with your own belief, even when you have nothing else to give. We were obsessed with the customer. Obsessed. It was our mantra. If we couldn't compete on scale, we would compete on care, on a relentless focus on making one person, then another, feel like we had built this just for them. That was our fire. That was what kept us warm. And slowly, impossibly, it started to work. The first time we sold a book to someone in a country we'd never visited, that was a moment. The first holiday season where we didn't completely drown, that was a moment. They were small victories, but they were ours. They were proof that the fire was spreading. We started to add more, music, movies. And with each step, the vision got bigger. The critics got louder too. "Stick to your lane," they said. "You're overreaching." But the thing about building something from nothing, it changes you. You learn that your lane isn't a predetermined path. It's a road you're building, brick by brick, as you walk it. The dot-com crash, that was the real test. The world was burning. Companies, ones that had been celebrated far more than us, were vanishing overnight. The headlines were brutal. Is Amazon next? And the stock, it fell and fell. It felt like watching a barometer of public faith, and it was plummeting. I had to stand in front of my team, the people who had trusted me with their careers, their lives. And I had to tell them we were going to be okay. I had to believe it, even when every piece of data screamed otherwise. That was the heaviest weight I have ever carried. But we had built for that moment. Not for the crash, but for the struggle. We were lean. We were stubborn. We were used to the cold. And we endured. Looking back now from a distance, I see the thread. The curious boy on the ranch. The young man in the garage. The person I am now. It's all connected by a single, simple choice. The choice to build. To build when it's easy to destroy. To build when it's popular to criticize. To build when you are terrified and alone, and have every logical reason to stop. Your idea, your dream. It doesn't need to be born in a boardroom. It can start in a garage, on a kitchen table, in the quiet corner of your mind. It just needs you to say yes. It needs you to take that first terrifying step into the unknown. The world will always have a million reasons why it can't be done. Your job is to find the one reason why it must. So, if you're sitting in your own version of that garage right now, if you're feeling the cold, hearing the doubt, both from the world and from within, I want you to listen to me. Lean into the quiet. Stoke that flicker. Protect it. Feed it. Because one day, they won't see the garage anymore. They'll only see the fire.